So God will often pull you aside to get your mind ready for what's next. Think about how he separated Moses, Elijah, and even Jesus to send them off on big missions. Solitude isn't the same as abandonment. And most of the time, it's God's way of checking your heart and getting you ready for what's next. So you see this pattern in scripture. God looks at what's going on inside before handing out real authority. And just look at Deuteronomy 8:2. So Moses reminds the Israelites of their 40 years in the wilderness. And it shows their hearts were humbled. And it shows their dependence. They gained dependence on God through the 40 years in the wilderness. And a lot of you may be feeling wrung out, real tired, loss of energy, loss of money, and maybe even your faith is running thin right now. But do not lose hope. Do not lose hope in that you may be gaining your dependence on God right now. And God is working in your life right now. God warns us about leaders that only care for themselves. When leaders feed themselves instead of their people, everyone gets tired, everyone gets worn down, and it explains that right there in Ezekiel 34:2. When power comes from strict systems and strict hierarchies and no real relationships, it just drains people. And there's no life being poured back in. And the real risk is when leadership is cut off from something bigger, and when it's all human effort and no connection to the divine. Sooner or later, people will hit a wall. They feel empty. They feel burnt out. They're just plain lost. That's how they feel. But the truth is, what you are planting by staying rooted in prayer, by staying rooted in the word, this will not stay buried forever. And God will make sure of that. Galatians 6:7, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. So with our smartphones, it gives us a sense of freedom, a big sense of freedom. And they're always in our hands. They're always offering us a million things to watch, who to text, and what to buy. And at the same time, these little devices nudge our thoughts and in ways that we barely notice. The Bible actually warns us about this unchecked freedom. And when we can do whatever we want, we start losing self-control and clear judgment. And that's in Proverbs 25:28. So, for example, if you're really exhausted, right, and you're like, oh my gosh, I really need a vacation. So if you're taking vacation after vacation, thinking physical rest will fix everything, you're not lined up spiritually. And time off just dulls that tiredness. And it doesn't really touch the real cause. And God spells it out. Real rest comes from trusting him and actually listening, not just running away from your problems. People chase fresh starts thinking that a new place is going to fix everything, but your old problems are just going to chase you. And I've done that more than once, thinking that a new surrounding is going to change something about my life. And it's not true. You need to focus on your inner self, because that inner chaos is going to tag along with you. And Luke 11:24 explains that. You need to fill that inner void with God. It took a long time for me to realize that. And Luke 11:24 explains it. So dropping the act of letting go of appearances, and it actually makes life harder. And it's not easy. That's what Jesus meant when he talked about the narrow way in Matthew 7:13. People have to choose. This narrowing isn't about shutting people out, but it's about protecting the life that you were meant to have. And God sets boundaries. So if you are having boundaries that are set in your life, it's not meant to keep people away, but it's meant to keep you safe as you walk in the truth. And just look at Psalm 16:11. You make known to me the path of life, and you will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand.